Hi, my name is Tokuni, and I'm going to be talking about my tourism experience that occurred at the Badagry Slave Trade Museum and Port, a tourism space located in Lagos, Nigeria. This tourism experience occurred on October 2015, and it was an historical and an educative based one as I got to learn more about the slave trade events that occurred in Nigeria in the 15th century. I got to learn a lot through the exhibitions of portraits, pictures, and as well as exhibitions of chains that were used during that period. The key stakeholders involved and impacted by this tourism experience consisted of both the primary and the secondary stakeholders. You have the governmental body of Nigeria, which is made up of the federal, the state, and the local governments. You have the management company of the museum, you have the employees of the museum, and then you had the tourists, which consisted of both students and non-students. Each of the stakeholders play one role or the other or have different responsibilities. The governmental body of Nigeria has the responsibility of making policies that influences the operations of the museum. The management company of the museum has the responsibility of overseeing the museum and ensuring that the operations are going smoothly. The employees have the responsibility of overseeing and managing the crowd of tourists present in the museum. The tourist only has the responsibility of seeing and viewing the exhibitions in the museum. However, although this tourism experience was educative and enlightening at the same time, there was a tourism site issue that occurred during this experience, and that was the issue of crowding and congestion. This was as a result of the low carrying capacity of the building or the poor crowd management of the museum. This issue led to several negative impacts on my experience. The first impact was the impact of limited ventilation. This was due to the fact that there were a lot of people or a lot of tourists present in the museum at the same time, and this made the building very stuffy. There was also the impact of security concerns. This was because we were there as students and there were tourists there who weren't students, so we had to be cautious and observant of our environment. There was also the impact of discomfort and the impact of noise pollution as well, because a lot of people were talking at the same time, which made the experience not enjoyable. The issue of crowding and congestion is an important issue in tourism management that should be addressed and given the necessary attention by key stakeholders as it makes or contributes to the attraction of a destination, and it also plays major role or major part in determining what type of experience the tourists will have, whether positive or negative, irrespective of the available attractions present in the tourist site. During my tourism experience, the management company of the museum made use of two methods to address this issue of crowding and congestion. The first method was through the use of stationary employees at different areas of the museum to address and to control the crowd of tourists present at the same time. The second method was through the use of using queues to view or to see exhibitions. Although this method helped to an extent, it wasn't able to control the issue of crowding and congestion, which still served as a problem for the museum at that time. During the course of this reflective essay, I was able to identify a tourism site issue that occurred during my tourism experience, which was the issue of crowding and congestion. I was also able to talk about the two methods that were employed by the management company of the museum to address this issue of crowding and congestion, which was the use of stationing of employees at different areas of the museum to control the crowd, as well as the use of queues to seeing or viewing exhibitions. These methods, although they helped to an extent, weren't able to effectively control or manage the issue of crowding and congestion. Now I'm going to be giving recommendations gotten from academic articles, journals, literatures, as well as industry literatures to address this issue of crowding and congestion. The first recommendation is through the use of increase in visitors scores. By increasing the visitor scores, this will help to limit the amount of tourists coming to the museum, and at the same time, this will help to control crowding and congestion. I know you might say that this is the harsh method of resolving crowding and congestion because a lot of people might not be able to afford to go to the museum. But at the same time, this will help in limiting the amount of people coming in, which in turn will help in controlling crowding and congestion. The second recommendation is through the use of multifocal exhibitions. By using multifocal exhibitions, this will help to distribute the crowd into different areas of the museums, which will also help to limit clusters and in turn help to control crowding and congestion. The next recommendation is through the use of creating enough beauty space in the museum. This is an obvious recommendation that this will help to um, contain and carry a large amount of tourists at the same time, which will help in controlling crowding and congestion. The next recommendation is through the use of the space sitters theory. An example of a museum that makes use of this theory or this method is the British Museum. This is related to the previous recommendation, which is creating of enough built space in the museum. By using this method, this will help to ensure that there's enough room or enough space in the museum, which will help to contain both the exhibitions and the tourists at the same time, which will lead to the controlling and the managing of crowding and congestion. The next recommendation is addressing carrying capacity. By addressing the carrying capacity, this doesn't just focus on the size of the museum, but also on how effective the management company of the museum is able to manage the crowd in the museum. The last recommendation, which is a personal recommendation, is the regulatory operations like service hours. By having regulatory operations like service hours, which is creation of different time periods to see different exhibitions, this will help to control the amount of people coming into the museum at the same time, as tourists will be distributed into different time periods to see exhibitions, which will help to control crowding and congestion. Thank you.